And welcome to another edition of Working for Charities. I'm Trip Mitchell, and I am joined by my longtime companions.
I like that.
John the Bear Absey, who was the Bear for 25 years for the Utah Jazz, retired from being the Bear to concentrate on working for charities and helping all manner of charities reach out to some wonderful people here in Utah. Longtime newsman Randall Carlisle, who left the TV business a couple of years ago to go work for Odyssey House to give back to the community.
And loving it a lot more than TV. So,
but you're missed, just so you know.
Well, thank you. So are you.
Both of you, I'm sure, are very missed.
And I'm lucky enough to get to do this show.
Nobody misses you. What can I say?
Everybody knows Trip.
Okay. So I'm lucky enough to do this show. And again, what our show is about is really focusing on some charities that do amazing work and have amazing people that just want to help and care about the community a lot, but don't get some of the attention that the larger groups do. And John, you've been amazing. Every year when you were Bear, you would do 200 visits a year at least to kids in hospitals, all types of groups helping people out. So between your 2 years, you have a lot of knowledge about local Utah charities.
I was really fortunate in the fact that I had a vehicle and a tool as the Bear to be able to go out and help charities succeed. And I love being part of that. And it was really my way of having such an amazing job. And it was my way of saying thank you to the community for supporting and embracing the character. So that was just my way of giving back. But, I didn't realize how much it was, making my heart and my mind grow and caring for everybody. And, I came to realize that it's the little charities in our community that need the most help.
And so you've started a website, Working for Charities, where you're going to do consultation and helping people out. And Randall and I do another show called Odyssey House Journals. And we met through another show that I do, Voices Behind the Game, and kind of combined efforts. And I'm really enjoying this, and we're getting great response. So with that in mind, who's our guest this week?
Well, my privilege to introduce John Gold. And I've known John for a lot of years, and I actually got to know him through his brother Toby.
Yep.
I used to go out to Rocky Mountain Raceways and race cars, and I got to know Toby, and then Toby one day...
Did the Bear suit fireproof?
No, but it was... They always asked. They would always ask. They would be like, Sean Cook, he'd be like, is your suit fireproof? I'd be like, yep. And I'd be like, no, it's not fireproof. But wow. I'd go out and race, and I always just was like, man, I hope I don't catch on fire.
The Bear is crazy. We know that.
Yeah. Would the suit have burned?
Oh, yeah. It had gone up.
You're a lucky man.
I was really lucky. Yeah. I remember one time jumping through the fire hoop, and my foot just nicked the fire, and you could see this flame burning up my leg. And when I landed, the compression and the air that came out of the mat put it out.
Wow.
Otherwise, it would have just went whoosh. It's like a Christmas tree is really what it's like.
And people in the crowd would have said, boy, he does neat stuff. I wonder how he does that.
Yeah,
what a stunt.
As they dragged me off.
Yeah.
But I was really fortunate to meet John. And back in the day, John used to work with Big Brothers Big Sisters. Mm-hmm. And I used to try and help him out as much as I possibly could. And then now I was able to go and talk to John and visit him at his current position at the Sharing Place. And I'm going to let John explain the intricacies of the Sharing Place.
First, I just want to echo what John says. He's amazing, the passion of his heart. He's always been willing to help me whenever I've asked, so thank you.
He's just a good guy.
He's amazing. He really is amazing, so thank you.
We needed to find someone really good to balance us out.
Good guy to balance us, I know.
There's a karma balance here.
Well, you found somebody. Yeah. So the Sharing Place is a grief support center. So imagine being a child or a teen and one of the darkest moments in your life happen where you have your mom or your dad or a sibling or any significant loved one in your life who has died. You go to school, sometimes kids say mean things to you, sometimes kids don't know how to address you. Even the other adults in your life sometimes don't know how to address that sort of topic. So these kids feel really isolated and alone. The Sharing Place is really a place where we can put these kids together, and it's a peer-to-peer grief support model, so they're around other kids who are going through the similar circumstances. They learn how to process their grief and learn how to heal. So it's really a wonderful place.
Wow, how did you come up with this idea, and tell me about the background?
So the background was started by Chytraus. So she, her husband died with a sudden heart attack, and she had 2 kids at home, and she noticed that they were acting out behaviorally in school and having some issues, and she really didn't know what to do with them. And she saw a special on 2020. I'm sure you guys remember 2020, and they were highlighting.
I used to call it 40. Anyway, in the business.
And they were highlighting the Dougie Center. The Dougie Center is probably the most recognized grief support center in the country. It's up in Portland, Oregon. So she literally found a local child psychologist named Nancy Reiser. They got their butts in a car and drove up there and kind of learned how to start a support group. They came down here and started with 5 kids. I think it was at St. Mark's Auxiliary. They describe it as kind of a small closet space, and it's kind of morphed into what it is to now. We have a house, and last year we served over 509 kids.
Really?
So, yeah.
God, what a great, I mean, it must be rewarding, but we're talking about a grim topic.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
How do you? I had a close friend die recently, and I didn't know what to say to the close friend's significant other. It's like, you say, I'm sorry, I feel bad. He was a great person. I don't know. I mean, what do you
and
guys
that's part
say,
of the
you know?
skills that we teach the kids at the sharing place. We also, I want to say, do an adult group. So while the kids are getting their services, we do one for the adult as well.
Lord knows adults
Yes,
need it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's just part of the coping skills, because they say 1 in 16 kids in the state of Utah will have a parent die before the age of 16.
Really?
That 1 in 16.
So that equals out to about 14,000 kids just in Salt Lake County alone.
wow.
So
That's
there's huge need out there in the community, and unresolved grief, Randall, is what you were kind of referring to,
Yeah.
can really lead to substance abuse, eating disorders, problems in school. So it's really important these kids kind of deal with and learn to heal with their grief.
It's funny you bring that up, because a lot of people at Odyssey House where I work
Oh, I'm sure.
have had something like that happen, or when they get out of treatment and they're clean and sober, something like that happens, and then they
Triggers them
relapse.
back. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, can you give people watching what kind of advice you give people in your program? I don't know. How do you tell somebody how to deal with death?
Don't be afraid is the first thing. Don't be afraid of talking about death. We really talk a lot about their person at the sharing place. So it's really important to honor those memories and be comfortable talking about it. And don't be afraid to ask if somebody died recently, what was their name? I mean, something as simple as that. It's getting them engaged and talking about their person is very important.
Something. When I went and visited, I was really impressed with that. Can you explain the wall that you guys have, the kids put pictures on?
Yeah, so we have a memory wall. So every child in our program gets an opportunity to do a memory block in honor of their person. So they'll write their name on it, and we put it up on it's kind of like the Vietnam Memorial, kind of, right, John? Kind of looks like that. And we keep it up there. It's a very special place for us, and we keep it up there as long as humanly possible. We also have what's called the sanctuary, which is a room where kids will put pictures of their loved ones. And once again, the kids can keep those pictures up there as long as they desire, or they can take them after they leave the program. Just a quick examples. We had a former family 7 years ago came and wanted to do an Eagle Scout project for us. And I'm not kidding. The first thing he did when he came into the house was to see the picture of his dad was still in the sanctuary.
No way.
And it was 7 years ago. And that's just the impact that this program's had on that family. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
So kids being around other kids in the same boat has to be amazingly helpful, but it's hard to put together, I would imagine.
Yeah, so all our groups are ran by group coordinators. They are the most creative and imaginative and wonderful people I've ever met, and they really run our groups. And we're also supported by volunteers. So we have about 6 to 8 volunteers in each of our groups, which is also important because their kind of role is to be there to listen to the kids so they can kind of get that one-to-one time with them as well.
And again, that statistic, 1 out of every 16 kids.
Yeah. By
We'll
the age
have-
of 20, we'll have a parent die in the state of Utah. Yeah. It does seem high, doesn't it? I think that leads to grief, as a lot of people don't talk about it, right? It's one of those things that it's not the favorite conversation table thing, right?
I'm wondering how kids talk. What you see other kids talking to other kids about death. What kinds of things do you hear?
Kids can be cruel, especially about 25% of the families we serve are suicide. So we've had some of our kids report to us that kids will tell other kids that their parent went to hell.
Really?
Yeah, so there's...
Which is really, and I think I mentioned on one of our shows, I had a great gentleman, he runs Nevada Childhood Cancer Foundation. His stepson died, or killed himself. And for me, it was the first time I'd been to a stake center for And the LDS Church is amazing in that situation because they were so supportive. I grew up Catholic, and Catholics are not.
It's a sin.
It's a sin.
Right.
And so I was so impressed with the church, the way they made, and the gentleman who spoke was the bishop, and this is down in Las Vegas. He spoke for 40 minutes, and I felt so much better. So there's certain people who can articulate death and make people feel better. And I bet that's a lot of the people that work with you.
Absolutely.
It's a gift.
You nailed that right on the head. I agree 100%.
How would you teach a kid to respond, or how would you deal with a kid if one of his peers says your daddy committed suicide and he's going to hell?
We just talk about honesty. We're very honest and open about that sort of stuff at the sharing place. We'd have these honest and frank discussions about that kid's making a poor choice, and that's not true, and lots of healing things.
I
like
think
that
you need
as
to
well.
just call me and let me know who that person is. So that just
And a lot of
breaks my
times they don't mean anything either, right? They're not trying to be
Kids can
vindictive.
be cruel.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
and they don't understand death any better than we do.
And then it's a tough topic, and people don't know what to say, and it's sometimes the first thing that unfortunately comes out of their mouth. So, yeah.
You know, in special charities too, the big thing in Mascot Miracles and Angels Hands, who I work with, getting the families together who are in awkward situations sometimes can be the most important.
Absolutely.
And so death is the ultimate horrible situation. So probably some amazing conversations come out.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I'll just share another story is because we do the separate groups. We do a parent group, and then we do a kid group. We keep them kind of separate, but sometimes they do talking about the similar stuff, right? And one of our former parents did a presentation for us recently, and he said the most amazing experience I had was at the sharing place is just the rides home from the sharing place with my son, because I got the opportunity to talk about his mother and what he was dealing with and what his emotions were. And he says one time I literally just broke down and cried on the way home, and he's like, "Son, I'm sorry, I'm a single parent now, and I don't know if I'm providing for you with all my needs and if I'm doing everything right for you." And his son looked at him and said, "Dad, it's all right. You're the best dad I could ever have. I love you." And put his arm around him. And it's just something like, I mean, this is a kid who's lost his mom, right? And just those skills that they develop there at the sharing place, they're really comfortable talking about death and healing and consoling others. It's a really amazing place. So
the hard part I would think for kids like it is adults is to verbalize your feelings, because you're not sure. I don't know. I guess you wouldn't be. If my mom died tomorrow, I don't know what I don't know what my feelings would be right then.
That's a great point, Randall, because every group starts with,
By the way, you're a wonderful interviewer. You always compliment us when we ask questions. That's
great question. Way to go.
John told me to do that, so
he said we're susceptible to
he paid me.
Yeah.
So every group starts, the parent group and the kid group starts, we call it opening circle, and part of that opening circle is the kid has to state their name of the person who died, how they died. Sometimes it takes a little while for the kids to get to that. And then they do a check-in question as well. And it could be like something special, especially with the age of the kid. Sometimes cognitively it's harder for them to process grief. So it could be something as simple as what was the color of your dad's hair. Or it's just to get these kids talking about grief and about their person. So,
in your opinion, like, what's one of your best moments? I mean, like, what's a moment that stuck with you? Plus, like, what's one of the most successful, like, out of all the children that you've dealt with, what's a really good success story?
I am glad you brought that up, because one of our...
Good
job, John.
Boy, are you brilliant.
You are brilliant.
Yeah.
I believed it the first time you said it, and then the second time.
Well, it just happened. That's why I said that. So we just did a staff meeting the other night, and one of our group coordinators, her name is Shanti. She was actually one of the original 5 kids that started at the sharing place.
Wow. And now at St. Mark's.
Yeah, one of the original 5. And she is now one of our group coordinators, and she recently graduated at the University of Utah as I think it's a physician assistant or something.
Physician assistant
Yeah,
is a big time job.
It is a big time job. She started it yesterday. So, I mean, I told her that Monday. I said, "Man, you are the epitome of the sharing place and the impact that we kind of have on families and pro people." So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
it is awesome.
So you're in a situation where you have kids walking in, adults, in their lowest point ever. Does it take a lot of courage to get going every day? I mean, when people are coming in, that's when you have to be your best. Talk about a typical day. And don't say that was a good question.
That's a great question. So what I've learned from working at the sharing place is just how fleeting life can be. And it's very important to be appreciative of each day, love and respect and treat your loved ones well, because you never know. I mean, some of the stories, unfortunately, we've heard of some of the families that are going through some tough stuff at the sharing place. It just shakes your head. I mean, it's crazy about
When you lose someone, you always want that last conversation to be uplifting. And I know people who talk to me, their regret is they didn't say I love you enough. They didn't tell that person how appreciative they are of them being around.
That is actually one of the activities our group coordinators did. I was at our group about a year and a half ago, and it was at one of our teen groups. So she was a senior, I think at either East or West High School, I don't remember. And that was the thing, is what are some things left unsaid you wanted to say to your mother before she died? And she was, unfortunately, her mom died from liver cirrhosis, and she was an alcoholic. So it wasn't the nicest thing she wished she could have told her mom, but it was some things like, I wish you weren't drinking because I always had to clean up after you. I wish you weren't drinking because you could never pick me up after school. So the whole idea is she wrote a page and a half of these things left unsaid to her mom. And there was some positive stuff on there as well. And we have a fire pit in the backyard. So the whole point of the exercise was to get it out, put it on paper, and kind of crumpled it up and kind of threw it into the fire to kind of get it out, let it go. And
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's, so they're really creative with their activities. So
I was just going to say, if you don't mind, I think the way you guys were talking is an experience that I have with my children is a long time ago. This is going to be kind of pathetic when I say this, but my dogs died and my children were upset and they never got to say goodbye to them. And then we were talking to them
pathetic.
about,
That's
what
real.
I mean, with what we're talking about. But we talked to them and we're just like, well, that's how come every day you say goodbye, or that you love the people that, you know, in your family and friends and all that other stuff. And, you know, because you never know. And I didn't think it would grow to this, but it's kind of funny that my children, they always say I love you no matter what, to the point that I'll just go downstairs and be like, I'm gonna run downstairs really quick and be like, I love you.
Really?
And I just laugh all the time.
John isn't very coordinated. I mean, the stairs could be really risky.
Could be the last time they see you.
I catch my kids sometimes because then all of a sudden I'll catch myself like, well, I love you too, but I'll be back, and I'm just going downstairs. But I really love the fact that my children got programmed like that, because it really does. Like anytime we leave or every time we talk, if we're on the phone or whatever, we're always saying that. And it just kind of makes me laugh.
But it's important. Do you talk about your dog?
No. I mean, we do a little bit, but they just kind of took it to a new level, which is awesome.
See, I like to say the person may die, but the relationship doesn't. I think that's why it's really important to still talk about your person, even though when they die. So,
do we handle death well?
Not as a society, typically, no.
Are we worse in America than other cultures, or not?
Other cultures deal with death differently than we do here in the States. I mean, a lot of them have a lot of rituals, and we really don't too much here. But I think it's just a taboo topic. I mean, people don't like to talk about it. Even like when I go in the community and I tell them what they do, you can see some people.
He's not a fun speaker.
Exactly. Some people instantly back away, but then other people who's had a death experience. I got with the dentist 2 weeks ago, and I just told her what I did, and of course she had to tell me her story about her brother, and so then you get the other side of that too, where people are really willing to share about their person.
Something that, I mean, just from my experience with the people that I've known that have passed, is, you know, you never talk about it because, you know, you want them to fight, but I've always noticed that once they realize I'm not coming out of this, they accept it more than we do. Does that make sense? Like, they're like, yeah, this is how it is. And then you can almost see the stress come out of them. They're almost just like, because I remember just like with my dad and stuff, once it was, and I was mad at the doctor because I remember I wanted my dad to fight. And I want, you know, he was 95. He was just kind of dying of old age. Stuff was shut down, like fight. And the doctor came in and said, nope, you're going to die. And pretty much as blunt as that. And I remember I followed the doctor out, and I was like, I'm a little angry right now. But when I went back in, my dad was just so relaxed. And the conversations and just, it was like he just accepted it and he was good with it. But we weren't. You know, I wasn't. I still to this day. I mean, but it was interesting to see some of the people that I've known that were passing, that I was in the room with them, how relaxed and they were so okay with it. I mean, is that kind of the norm?
We call that anticipatory grief, where people are expecting to die, and it does happen. I mean, people get a calmness sometimes and realize that an acceptance, right? So, yeah.
I would think it'd be easier to. It sounds cruel. I'm trying to be pragmatic, but if somebody had cancer and was dying a slow death, it would I would think it would be easier to deal with that person and say the things you needed to say as opposed to somebody dying in a car accident right now.
Yes.
Is it or not?
In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. Because relationships are complicated, so it really depends on a lot of that. Some people will feel guilt or shame. Like, I won't use your dad's example, but there could be something like, I should have done this. I should have had my dad eat better. I should have done this. I should have told him to quit smoking. So sometimes there's a lot of guilt associated with those sorts of things too. So,
wonder why we're always looking for an answer of something we could have done for the person who is dying. But it's sort of their deal, not ours.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's their journey. Yeah.
But I noticed, I mean, in Randall, in your case, not to get personal, but you had a chance to go on a vacation with your 92-year-old mother last week, and I bet that was wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and she told me, and obviously there were probably more fun ways to spend a week's vacation, but she told me it's a beach she loves in Florida, and I want to walk on it one more time, because I asked her what I could get her for her 92nd birthday, and so that's what we did, and it was. And I'm really glad we did. And we had some warm
moments. What time did you go to dinner?
4:30. Okay. Yeah. That's what they do in Florida. Come on.
Did you make it all the way to 5:30?
Oh, yeah, sure. To me, it's one of those things that I will say when she passes away that I'm glad we did that. And it just makes me feel better.
You will have that memory for the rest of your
exactly.
life. Yeah.
I took pictures and,
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
You know, John, when I was there, could you tell us about some of the rooms that you guys have at the sharing house? So I remember you'd kind of toured me a little bit.
So the coolest room we have is called the volcano room. It's probably the one you're referring to. Yeah. So it's literally a padded room. Anger is a huge part of the grief process. So we literally let the kids go bonkers in there. I think that's why volunteers are important too. I mean, kids will bang on the walls and jump around, especially the younger kids are cognitively, they can't process it like adults can.
Right.
So they release it through big energy, and we find opportunities and ways for them to release that big energy. Plus, we want to teach them ways to express their anger rather than getting in a fight at school, hitting the brother or sister, hitting mom or dad. So we kind of provide them that opportunities. One of our coordinators did a cool activity. She's really musically inclined, and she got these big plastic 5-gallon barrels, barrels, whatever you want to call them, put duct tape on them, and she had each kid come up with an emoji of how they're feeling that day. It could be sad, lonely, happy, anger, and they drew it on the top of the drums, and she got drumsticks, and the kids just pounded on for about 15 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
It's just a great way for them to kind of release their energy and come to terms with some of the emotions that they're having.
How do they hook up with your program? I mean, somebody has a relative who dies?
Typically, it's word of mouth. A lot of time it's through counselors or hospitals, sometimes therapists. So,
do you have a website and stuff?
We do. It's www. That's that 3 of them.
Yeah,
thesharingplace.org. So you can go on there and get some resources, kind of learn how to get involved. And
what could the community do to help you?
Right now, our largest fundraiser is coming up. It's November 2nd. It's called Day of the Dead. So we're hoping to raise about $85,000, and people can help us there's still sponsorship opportunities available. There is, we're looking for $25 gift cards, and we're also looking for silent auction items. And
where do you do this event?
It's at the Union Center this year. So
what's the Uni Center?
It's the Union Event Center. It's behind West High School. I apologize, I don't know exactly what it is.
It's over on 500 West and 300 South.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I've been to a rock concert there or something. Yeah.
It's actually a great venue. So you're basically having a gala.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But the name again? The Dead?
The Day of the Dead.
Right around Halloween.
It's a Mexican holiday and tradition where they honor their loved ones, so it's really a great fit for us.
So, and we were talking earlier about other cultures doing better with the dead. I know in Japanese culture, they really honor older people.
Right.
And sometimes in our culture, we don't do as good a job, I know, for sure.
That is for sure.
But when death occurs, and again, that number just amazes me, 1 out of 16 children will lose a parent. That's when it gets really tough.
So to go back to your question too, so we're almost at capacity at the sharing place. So we and the board got really aggressive this year. We had 2 goals.
Where is the sharing place?
So it's on 3300 South and 1695 East.
Gosh, you're right by me.
Yeah, we're not too far, right across from the ironically, the cemetery. Do you know where that cemetery
Yeah.
is?
Ironically, let me see.
But
Day of the Dead across from a cemetery.
yes, we deal with death. So we are capacity there, and the need is so big. We talk about those numbers, and we're really getting aggressive because the average family on our waiting list waits about 3 to 6 months.
You're kidding.
And that's
Shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't be that way. And then accessibility is very important. We have families. We serve all 8 counties here that come to Salt Lake City. We had a family that comes as far as Logan, Utah.
Wow.
We had one try as far as St. George, Utah. So the board and I are really focusing on making our program more accessible as well. So we just opened up a new location out in Taylorsville, Utah, where we can serve some of the West Side families. It's on 5400 South and 2195 West. Yep, and the groups just started last night. We just had our first group last night. So we're hoping to serve more kids, make our program more accessible, serve more kids, right? Because the need
It'd
is
be
so
nice
big.
to see your program in every city. I mean, all
That's
over
my
the
goal,
state,
Randall.
you know.
One day, yeah. And we can't. That's why I want to be congratulatory to you guys. But thank you for this opportunity. We share our message, and we can't do it without people in the community. So.
Well, John, what you're doing is amazing. So if you look on the screen right now, we've got the website and the phone number up on the screen. And John, you, first of all, thank you so much for
thank
everything you do.
you.
My gosh.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know, when you go to work every day, you know you're doing good for people.
I do.
And you do interviews so well, praising the questioners. I mean, it's, you know.
We are very shallow people.
Yeah,
Those
we
of
are. It
us in
just
the-
takes a little pat on the back and you go, that guy was really good. 'cause
Well,
he
do you
said
want
I
that
asked him-
20 though? So.
Well,
give you 20.
your car. I'll be taking your car to wash it and get it detailed, so I'll be back in about a half hour. But what you're doing is amazing.
He does amazing. I mean, I'm blown away by what you do.
Oh, thank you.
And
Plus, I got a quick question. So, with always dealing with kind of, I mean, the negative side of reality and death, and how do you block that? So you're such an upbeat, positive guy. How do you block that so you're not walking out of there having to go down to the rubber room or the
Right.
padded room yourself?
The term we use a lot is self-care. So it's really important that you're aware of your emotions and what you're doing, and find an appropriate outlet. I mean, exercise, talk to you, go out to eat, do things that you like to love. And really how I deal with it is more, like I mentioned earlier, is just being appreciative of each day, and telling your family like you do with your kids. Tell your family you love them, and hang out with your friends, and really live life, because you never know. You never know.
Wow. And this show is dedicated to my cousin Phil Klein, who is going through an end-of-life issue right now as we speak in St. Louis. And he made a decision after becoming a quadriplegic that he did not want to be in care for the rest of his life, and he's going through it right now. So, John, as usual, what an amazing guest. Thank you so much for being here. I feel better about things.
Oh, thank you.
And for information, again, John's number is on the website. And if you'd like to join us and be a guest on our show, if you've got a charity that could use some hype and some great video, give John a call or go on the website at workingforcharities.org.
Yes.
And he'll be glad to get you booked on a show. For John and Randall, this John, I'm Tripp saying thanks for watching. We appreciate, by the way, we've got April here, part of our staff, and we've got Lee, our director producer. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.